Welcome to another episode of the Reboot Chronicles, a no-holds-barred forum with global leaders, authors, entrepreneurs, and CEOs about how organizations stay focused on growth and innovation in unprecedented times. I'm your host, Dean Tobias, coming to you live from Reviv's North American headquarters in Chicago, and we would like to thank you for joining us from around the globe today. I'd like to welcome Ian Ginsberg, the third-generation president of the oldest apothecary in the United States, C.O. Bigelow. Many of you have heard of it. What you don't know is it started way back in 1838. That's right, the 1800s. But a better story about more modern day over the last couple decades. Ian has brought the business into the 21st century, rebooting it from a historic New York City landmark store and expanding it more into personal care products, driving the next generation of e-commerce, and quite frankly, I think creating a much larger global brand and global presence. So, Ian, it's great to see you today. Your company, it's just amazing how your company and your brand, you just survived like a couple world wars, the Great Depression. Most of us weren't around for that. Now a global pandemic and lockdown, which has really killed a lot of small retail. I don't put you in the small category anymore, but the pandemic has been a serious jolt to many industries, and everybody wants to know what's your secret? Is it because you're a musician? You just kind of go with the flow, or what's the deal?
we ride the wave as it goes. I mean, what's the secret? I mean, we survived all these things, and we know deep in our heart that we're going to figure out a way to survive this. But I think we have an emotional connection with people, and because we're pharmacists at the core, we kind of believe we have to be there to make sure that everybody else is okay. And not a day goes by, even now, because we've been open every single day on the retail side, that someone doesn't walk in and say to us, when things are really bad and I walk in and I see all the familiar faces, it reminds me that everything's going to be okay.
Wow, that's powerful. Yeah. So you deemed yourself essential right away, didn't even close to reorganize and get plexiglass and all that stuff going.
No, I mean, we're a busy pharmacy, and so no, with the people here, most of the people here have been here for a long time. They were here during 9/11, and they just rolled up their sleeves and they just did whatever they had to do to get done. It's we're very lucky.
I love it. My mom used to bring us there, gosh, in the 60s, I guess, when your dad ran the store, and it was just, I kind of remember, I probably didn't appreciate it, but I think you had a soda fountain there, so I did.
You did.
But it was almost like going to Disney World, but in New York. It's like, there's the store. Here we are. We'd have to get dressed up, I think, because we'd go into the city, of course, from the burbs.
Yeah, going to the city. Yes.
Yeah. Is it? What's the store like today?
So the store is an interior landmark. So everything, and this building that we're in was built in 1902. So when you step inside, everything that looks real is real. The ceiling is the original ceiling and with gold bees in it, and the tile floor is the original tile floor. All the woodwork is the original woodwork. You feel you're stepping inside a time warp. When we took out the fountain in '84, we expanded the store to its original space, and it's just when you walk inside, you just feel differently.
Most people don't know what a fountain is, but that's actually where you serve soda, not a fountain that's spewing water into the sky.
Yeah, you sat on little bar stools and you'd get a hamburger and an egg cream or an ice cream soda. We used to serve Louis Sherry ice cream. And they had like a floating menu. Whatever they felt like making that day was what was on the menu, but it was amazing.
Wow. I could use a little time warp right now, actually. How do you, a little boring, but how do you kind of run the business? It's listening to you, it seems like you've got a retail side now, a distribution side. This is not your father's Bigelow.
No. So there's a couple different pieces to it. We have the retail business and with a functioning pharmacy, and that's a whole work in itself, an e-commerce site. And then we have another company called Bigelow Trading that imports and distributes a number of other brands that are, for obvious reasons, we're fascinated with other families. So we represent families from Europe who have these multi-generational heritage brands. And they also act as the sales and marketing arm for our own Bigelow brand. And then we do hotel amenities and we do, restaurants and a whole variety of stuff. But even though we're all kind of separate components, it's one big family. So we all work together.
Yeah, having been on a lot of family enterprise boards, actually I'm still on two, I can really appreciate that. It's an art to be able to pull that off. And but back to your secrets, the experience in store, amazing. Your culture, let's get to that in a second. Can you, I guess is a better question, replicate that amazing experience, your in-store experience? Can you replicate that online?
We try to do it online. I mean, it's harder and harder now because basically, if you boil down most websites, it's a top nav and a side nav and a bunch of
Yeah.
stuff on the screen. And the guy with the cheapest price or the best loyalty program wins. So we try to replicate what we do in store, which is, you step in store, it's a collection of our favorite things as well as our own things. And so we try to, maybe a third of the people coming to buy our stuff, a third are buying our stuff, plus something else that we are really passionate about. And then we're still always on the hunt for the greatest products from around the world. And I think the bottom third are looking for all these things that we pay attention to that big guys say, we don't want to bother. But we hope that when you step inside the website, and then, that's a little more challenging, that you feel you trust us, you feel we're authentic, and you trust that the things that we're offering and the stories we're telling about them are really great, and it's something you really want to grab.
Right. And how many products are you selling now, roughly?
So on the website, I think we have close to 10,000 SKUs, all in all, and that's a job to manage.
It's
But
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
we want to replicate. So in the beginning we had less, but then people said, "Well, I can buy it in the store. How come I can't buy it online?" And so it's now become almost the same.
Or vice versa, more online than
Yeah.
in store sometimes. So it's always a big challenge. Revive is a health and beauty tech company, but they have an index where they monitor all of the traffic about what people are looking for by country in products. And during the pandemic, there's been a massive shift, which we can talk about, from cosmetics to skincare, but certain drill downs of skincare are up anywhere from 200 to 400%. Issues that people are having with their face because they're zooming so much, or they're looking at each other so much, or they don't care about makeup anymore and they're not wearing it. But just, everything is just off the charts. And, obviously it's been over-reported about the spiking in retail. But what do you experience in this let's just call it 2020 for now, this shift towards more health and wellness and related products?
Yeah, so I think you're 100% correct on the cosmetic side. So people are buying a lot less makeup because they're not wearing
Yeah,
makeup.
I'm not using lipstick right now. I
Yeah,
mean, come on.
uh, we have a big lip gloss business. Of course, that's not as accelerating as it was, but a couple things are going on. People are spending a lot more time at home. They have a lot more time to do things for themselves. So you'll see a lot more masks and treatment things that require time, hair treatments, facial treatments, body treatments. Um, People are more concerned about skincare. So they want to get their, they have time to do it and they have to do it because they're in front of a TV screen. Skincare things about mask me. A lot of sanitizing. So hand washes. We make a lot of hand wash, body wash. I think with what limited money, even though people's budgets are down, they're using those. They're spending less, but they have a little more money to spend on things that they're going to do at home. So I think maybe they'll spend a little more. We're starting to see home fragrance, so people putting burning more candles at home, more diffusers at home. Face masks, hair treatments, maybe trying things that they didn't try before because they have the time to do it.
Right.
So you're absolutely right, but there's a
And
lot more
the,
competition.
yeah, a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. The whole wearing a mask makes people want to do more mask treatments, but different kind of masks there. How do you approach this? I was going to ask just what's been your growth and innovation strategy back to the point when you really, I think it goes back to the 80s when you got into your own lines of products. So now you've got your own versus sourcing other companies, both indie brands, family brands, maybe some large brands too, depending on what their unique qualities are. But based on the data you just threw out, have you shifted a lot of your whatever you want to call it, your own brand, your private label stuff in terms of what you're going to develop next?
Um, yeah. So we had stuff in development before. At our core, we're very concerned about our brand, and our brand, we're authentic apothecary ingredients at active levels. Um, you wouldn't expect us to have something super scientific because I don't know if it fits, but we are looking. We have been in skincare, we have been in body care, but we're looking at more treatment oriented things.
Yeah.
We're not a clean brand necessarily, but we're starting to look at more cleaner ways of looking at things in new capsules. this was a time to sit back and reflect and say, hey, what's happening in the future? Because there has been, even though I wasn't gung ho on the clean craze, there's been a lot of more activity. A lot of people are talking about it now. We do think there's a place for us in ingestibles, because I think that's a category we can own, and so we're looking at that too. But we're an indie brand that's not PE backed, and so we take our time. But we do have a bunch of things in development that are more healthy, like maybe cleaner ingredients, not 100% clean, but more experiential. Although I hate that word, but more experiential products. I mean, we want to be part of people's daily lives, and but we also want to be, make people have some fun too.
Yeah, experiential is kind of a hollow term, but it just points out that it's missing everywhere else. We could make, just sticking with the product side, I think that's pretty brilliant. There's so much noise, that we call it the beauty jungle out there, but the clean and green and this and that. There's not a lot of label restrictions, so a lot of people want to put stuff like that on their package, but it's not necessarily the best. And sometimes it doesn't have to be completely clean and green. Just taking out a few ingredients helps, but we've had other brands on where it's extreme. And some retailers are, they got their dirty list. They don't want any ingredients that are not, approved. But at the same time, mass market, they've had a hard time kind of adapting to that trend, because I just think at some level it doesn't scale that well. I mean, just the amount of volume of products, if you walk into a Walmart or a Target, it's overwhelming, or even your website. I mean, to have 10,000 in the unique category is pretty out there.
A lot, yeah. I mean, it's with clean, and I'm pretty outspoken on the clean movement. I'm involved politically. There's some ironies there, because most of us are developing for Europe. Yep. So there's a lot of noise about the Europe list and the American list. It doesn't matter, because anybody who's meaningful is we're developing to Europe anyway. Should they change some of the regulations here? Absolutely. A lot of these lists they keep talking about, Europe has 1,300 banned ingredients and we only ban 20. Probably 1,150 of those ingredients are things you would never put in a cosmetic anyway. Petroleum's on that list, gasoline's on that list. And so there's a lot of fear mongering, right? Yeah. A lot of these indie brands that are screaming about how clean they are could never pass the stability test necessary to sell in Europe. So there's a balance there of being clean. And also, when you talk about mass, there's plenty of products that are trying to get cleaner, but I don't know if the consumer really knows the cost that, the cost that the expense that it's costing them to have an organic. If I have a cucumber extract in my product and you have an organic cucumber extract, by the time that cucumber gets in that product, does it really matter if it's organic or it's not organic? And what cost? How much did it cost to get it organic, to get it in the product? You're talking about small percentages of things. So it's there's a lot of the hysteria has surpassed the science. Yep. And the fear, there's a lot of fear out there for people. But no doubt we needed a little shakeup. But a lot of, some of these things aren't as dangerous as they're making them seem, or as harmful as they make them seem. Parabens being one of them.
Right. Yeah, it's not like it was, arsenic or asbestos or something awful.
Arsenic and strychnine are on the European list. Yes.
Exactly. The brings up a funny, not funny, but just because something's clean actually makes it less green, because it takes so much more energy just to manufacture that little bit and make it or whatever, all that stuff. So I think some of your ingredients are still on the original lists from the 1800s. I mean, some of yours were pure in the first place.
Yeah, so we, people, it's like funny, as pharmacists, people say to us, are you guys compounding pharmacists? And I was like, we've been compounding for 180 years.
Like, who, us? No, I'm just...
No. I mean, I was born and raised with a mortar and pestle in my head. But some of our products are actual. We have all these recipe books that go back 150 to 180 years. And I've always, as a pharmacist myself, I go through the recipes and I try to find products that are, products and concepts and ideas. And some of our products are exact formulas. And, some ingredients you can't use anymore, some aren't available. But one of our best-selling products is our lemon body cream, which is, pretty close to how it was developed then. and it was, it was clean. You got to add some preservatives, you got to add some things in it now to make it, so you don't grow any nasty things in there. But we try to do our best. So there's a lot of products like that. We do make surfactant cleansers, with sulfates, but we also make surfactant cleanser, non-surfactant cleansers from the 1800s.
Yeah,
It's fun.
It's amazing. Let's talk about the retail experience. Yours being, extremely unique. Your online business, massive, global. Why is it that most retail, let's just talk about mass retail. You and I use it a lot. Why do they have such a hard time replicating let's just call it a good experience? Doesn't have to be like magical, maybe like your store, but it seems like that's all been lost, and obviously in the pandemic that everything's been lost. It's like most restaurants aren't magical experiences anymore. It's too much, there's plexiglass and things like that. So pandemic aside, it's like mass scale and authenticity just don't seem to go together that well. Any thoughts?
I mean, I travel around the world, and I love shopping when I'm traveling. And to me, it's an emotional experience. There's the stores I love to go to aren't necessarily where I buy the most things. It's where I feel the best. I feel good there. I learn something I like, and so it's an emotional experience. And I think lots of people take the emotion out of shopping now. To them, it's an empty box place where you just go in, and how many empty boxes can we give the person to leave? And when they thought they lost the experience, maybe not the mass stores, they thought experience was just putting up digital screens and having strobe lights and loud music. And to me, and touch screens, and I've heard you talked about the hardware overload. This is
the hardware hangover.
Hangover. Yeah, we're going to build an experiential environment. We're just going to put up a lot of touch screens so people can touch stuff instead of just having one-on-one human contact. And I still believe that people want a place where you can put your phone in your pocket and just be in the moment, talk to somebody, learn something, be touched. Well, not be touched anymore, but just learn something and be able to talk to people on a human level. And it's more expensive to do it. But I think that it does pay off in spades. Having somebody, creating a place where people want to go and not need to go is the difference between, good and bad retail.
Yeah, exactly. What those of you that are listening, the hardware hangover he referred to is a lot of retailers did put in all that equipment, and now it's like you can only look at that stuff, not touching anymore. And they invested a lot in touching, and so what we're seeing now is a resurgence of using your phone in store, which is kind of anti-experience to what you just talked about. But somewhere in there's a bridge, and you can also use, bring your own technology and use it while you're talking with someone, and they can actually use it to push things to you that. Like sampling of products and stuff like that. Right. So there might be some help there where tech can maybe make it more personalized. So a couple trends are, personalization. What are your thoughts on personalization? But, let's just start with skincare.
I think that I love what I'm seeing with all these indie brands trying to do that. I don't know if you can scale that, and I don't know.
Exactly.
I know what goes into developing a product and how much testing and how much stability testing and challenge testing and patch testing goes in. You can't just do that and give somebody a product and not without So I don't know how they're doing it. I suspect maybe there's not a lot of things going in there. I don't really know, but there's an idea there somewhere, and eventually someone will figure it out. But all of us who produce products that are sold to lots of people do a tremendous amount of testing to make sure, we don't harm people, to make sure the product doesn't fall to pieces, and to make sure it's a pleasant experience. So I don't know how you scale it. Original Pharmacy, our formulary books were based on someone would come in and say, I have a problem. The pharmacist would go back and customize a formula for them. And that's where my recipe books came from. But I don't know I just don't know how you scale it. I like the idea of it. There's some companies are doing it with hair, some doing it with skincare. I just don't know how.
It's tough. Yeah.
It's tough.
It's almost like a niche kind of product makeup, and it's happening in a variety of industries, whether you mentioned ingestibles, so both supplements as well as topicals, as well as maybe food, but not so much. But then there's another level of kind of like the first line of personalization that we're seeing, companies like Revive, where it's like, hey, take the jungleness out of this. So when I walk into a CVS or a Target, there's literally maybe I won't say thousands, but maybe there's like 100 products that I could use for my current needs, and take me through a process that can narrow it down from maybe 100 to 10. So it's like personalizing based on the SKUs and the ingredients and your in this case your face or your condition or soon to be vitamins and supplements as well. So
Right.
you think that's a better mass market personalization versus having to mix up compounds for everybody?
Oh, I think so. I mean, if you step inside Bigelow's, our edit, we look like, we call it organized chaos, and we look like we have a lot of stuff, but
Yeah.
we really don't. We look at every category very tightly, and if we look at the hair category, what's our favorite styling brand? What's our favorite this, favorite that? And you come and you talk to the associate, and she or he understands the difference between all these things, and talks to the customer and has an idea of what's good to recommend to them on a personal level. So we think over assortment, as you just stated, just confuses people.
Yeah.
But big mass retailers need a lot of assortment because they need to make sure they have some. Everybody leaves with something. We find someone enters to us and they trust us. We say we're genuine, honest, and trustworthy. They trust us. We have the authority, and so we can make the recommendations. Can we add technology to that? We probably will at some point. But I still think that really educated associates who are passionate
Yeah.
win out.
Yeah.
Win out
Exactly.
overall.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. We try not to get too topical on the show here about what time of year it is, because it's kind of a timeless show. People watch these episodes years from now, but 2020 pandemic's not easy to ignore it. And I'm sitting here, it's Amazon Prime Day. God help us, we need to buy more stuff.
Got my
So
Kindle today.
so I'm probably going to be doing some TV interviews soon about, Black Friday and all that. And it's like, it's already started. It's Black October and November and December. It's like, how's that playing for you in terms of the season as it will? Because you are a big part of that.
Yeah, I mean, we're, as an indie retailer trying to survive in all these things that are going on, there's a lot of promotional activity going on, even before Amazon Prime Day and Black Friday and all these things. A lot of these companies now during this time are getting very, very promotional. And so customers are looking for value. And so, as we're trying to build our web business, our e-commerce business, we send out emails that normally do very well. And maybe they don't do so well because to them, the customer is focused on what value can I buy? They're still buying, but certain times they'll just try things because it's cheaper. We've sent out emails in the past where we're very conservative with our cash and stuff, so I don't have to unload things. But once in a while, we'll have an offer on something, and the reaction to the offers when it's something they don't even know what it is astounding to me, because it just all they care about is how is it 50 off? I'm taking it, and so it's hard to cut through that noise.
Price.
Price is tough.
So every day is Black Friday. We've got the countdown going here.
It seems that way. But we just have to, the big don't eat the small, the fast eat the slow, so we can react and we can try to, when everybody goes one way, this is my philosophy and everything. When everybody goes one way, we just try to go the other way, and hopefully we'll catch some.
That served me well over the years. Some advice my dad gave me. That sounded like some of your dad's advice you just talked about. What else? What other kinds of things did he tell you as he was handing things off? Or when you were younger, like me, you probably didn't listen to him as much. But
no, he rattled off a lot of stuff that I kind of went in one ear out the other. But I find myself even more today quoting these things. He and I said one day I'm going to write a book of all these sayings. You can't dance at two weddings with one ass. Right? Can you say that?
You can say that.
Always let the other guy do the talking, because eventually he's going to stick his foot in his mouth. When you're full of it, keep your mouth shut. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate.
That's a good one.
Never screw the guy who brought you to the dance. And my grandfather used to say, if at the end of the month you still have money left, that you pay all your bills and you have money left over, you made money.
That's right. I used to work at a company called Annixter Brothers, and that was their cash flow. Their policy and procedure book was a little tiny manual with little cute sayings on it, and copied after a lot of books. But yeah, the cash flow page was about. It just said, more money needs to come in than goes out, and that was their philosophy. It's like
That's it.
that works for me. I don't know. One of mine is trying to think, but nothing happens. No, that's the Three Stooges. But what when you look at the what's been your big? When did you take over as top guy?
Well, I graduated pharmacy school in '85, and I bought my father out in '96.
Wow.
So maybe a couple years prior, I was starting to take over.
Nice. So well, just buying out a family member can be the biggest challenge. But besides that,
Yeah.
Let's talk about that on another show. We're doing our governance talk week. Yeah, what have been your biggest challenges, I guess, because you've totally transformed this business. It's a great story.
So two of the challenges. One, trying to run a traditional business in a modern world is a huge challenge. We are one of the bigger ones is that we are a pharmacy at our core, and it's the thing we're pretty proud of. I'm third generation pharmacist. My son is fourth, and the pharmacy business is the worst business ever. It's the lowest margin, highest overhead, and it's almost like a criminal enterprise. And people are trying to destroy us. So it's it's part of our ethos, it's part of our history, and then we have to maintain that. But it's a very, very very difficult, and you're dealing with people's lives on a daily basis.
Right.
So yeah, it's all nice. I make lip gloss and shower gel and hand soap, but at the same time, I'm dealing with lots of people's lives and a whole crew that's responsible on a daily basis. So especially in stressing times like now. So that's the challenge. The financial part of that is always been difficult. And it requires a lot of money.
Yeah, I bet. And I
and
assume
competing.
Sorry,
Oh,
go ahead.
and one last thing is, where the last bunch of years we've been surrounded by, PE-backed brands and retailers that are, blowing cash out of every part of their body, and we're like, when is this going to end?
It's actually getting worse. I've just interviewed a couple on the program. The money in this category is interesting. Well, at least on the product side.
Right.
Not so much the retail side. So you're in an interesting position there in terms of, are you a brand or are you a retailer? Like, yes, I am.
For both, yeah.
And there's all types of new business models out there that I guess you're gonna have to consider at some point. When you look at the next gen trends, health and wellness, or health, beauty, and wellness now are all just melding together, and you actually have a good foothold in that because moving into supplements and things like that is something that's in your wheelhouse because you've got the pharmacy culture, whereas other beauty brands don't. And I get asked a lot about which way they should be going. And I'm like, what you put inside your body is just as important as what you're slapping all over your self. And it's I've seen that as a big shift this year. The data seems to back it up, and it's a good opportunity, I think, for companies like yours.
Yeah, I mean, it's been out there for a long, long time, but I think over the last, as 6 months or so, people have been more in tune with their body and saying it's all of a sudden there was a tip. I guess it's been the tipping point where it's being accepted more and more by people, and whereas supplements used to be, the earthy, crunchy thing on the outskirts is now becoming mainstream, and some of these brands that may have been early to the game because we've looked at it for years. Or all of a sudden rising to the top. I don't know. I'd like to see more science. I mean, we will dip our toe in there a little bit because we should be in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how far it goes because I'm a pharmacist. I studied medicine, my life, and so I don't know how much of this. We have to be careful that we're not proving to people that these things can do more than they can actually do. And I always feel we have an obligation to be truthful and not to ride a wave. That's why sometimes we wait a little bit. And I always think we have the authority to be there. So I think if we get there late, and we tend to be late to everything, it'll be okay. But I'd like to see how it pans out because there's more and more of them coming every day.
Yeah, and they all have growth and innovation agendas, and that leads to product morphing. And it used to be, hey, vitamin C, vitamin E, pretty much proven those out. Those do things, but a lot of these gummy products are they're like candy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd like to see. I'd like to watch it over time and see if it continues to rise or slows down a little bit. Drinking collagen and taking things that they're starting. And I think the FDA may wake up too one day and say, slow down a little bit,
Yeah.
because there's not a lot of regulation on claims.
Right. Yeah, you won't see after effects till years later.
Yeah.
Ian, I really want to thank you for being on the program. A lot of aspiring entrepreneurs out there, especially in the indie categories and in your sectors as well as others. Any advice you want to give them? Any words of wisdom? You've been through some really amazing things that have given you a lot of experience. I'm sure a lot of them would love to have you on their board, but this is probably the closest thing they'll get to it. So
Call me.
Exactly.
No, I meet with a lot of indie brands, and I'll say a few things. One is that everybody thinks they can disrupt every business, and I think that's totally cool. And everybody thinks they can disrupt it, something they can disrupt it, and they don't know anything about it. And I say, okay. And then I do meet others that think they can disrupt it, and they don't have to know anything about it. And I think that's that makes me a little nervous. But a lot of them are only interested in, I'm going to build this thing and I'm going to build it up and I'm going to sell it for $100 million, and that's my dream. And it just frustrates me running a family business for so long. Like, whatever happened to wanting to build something, to build it, because it's something you're really passionate about and it's something you want to carry on, and do some meaningful work. So make sure that the passion is there. You're doing it for the right reason. But on the business side of it, cash is king. It's very important that you manage your cash, because stuff happens once in a while. As Mike Tyson says, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face, right?
Right. Yeah.
So cash is king, and be focused, know where you're going and how you're going to get there. And I've said this before. A guy gave me great advice one time. When you're doing cool things, lots of other cool people will call you to do other cool things. And he said you should put a sign on the back of your door with, "This is where I'm going and this is how I'm getting there." And when someone calls you up, say, "Is this on that path?"
Yep.
Because you can get lost, you can get sidetracked on the path.
Now more than ever. Yeah, now more than ever, people need focus, because the opportunities are so vast. There's so many things you could do, and only a certain amount of time.
But great things happen when it's something you really want to do for the right reasons, not because it's just a money grab. Because for all those success stories that you hear about, that you dream about, that you dream about before you go to sleep every night, there's about 10,000 others that went to zero. And it's and I wake up every day and I still love what I do, and that's more important than how much I'm going to sell it for 10 years from now.
I love it. You've been listening to Ian Ginsberg, who is the president of C.O. Bigelow. Next time you're in New York, check it out. Good seeing you.
Good seeing you. Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, of course. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.